Okay, this is a catch-up match from the New Players League between Stephen Gotlib at the top and Matt Powell at the bottom. You can see the points difference, 39-24, so Matt's very much in the thick of the action for finals here. Stephen, with 24 points, is probably thinking about seeding for next season if he's going to be playing next season. 24 he can go to 36, but if other results don't go his way, then he's still behind. So it looks like Stephen's on standard here, so this is probably green-black counters, and it's mono-red for Matt. You can see Matt's hand there, it's a little bit slow being the red, but it's got a nice curve. 2-3 drops into Hazaret. Hazaret's not so common in this deck at the moment. It's sometimes changed out for Rekindling Phoenix and it's the other and Chandra. So Rekindling Phoenix, Chandra, and Hazaret are sort of competing for who wants to be that premier 4-drop. You can see Uncrop Crasher, no need to exert because Scrap Heap Scrounger can't block. Still Leaf Champion, this is the 5-4 for 3. It's pretty popular at the moment. That's going to gum up the works here. So you can see that the Uncrop Crasher can actually exert if it wanted to. And then he could push 6 damage, put Stephen down to 8. But he won't get an attack. I think he's setting him up. Okay, he's going to take that, yep. The other option here was next turn he could set him up so that deal some damage to Steel Leaf, cast Chain Wheeler and finish it off with Shock. But Stephen now down to 8. Yeah, this mono red deck, I'm trying to remember when the Pro Tour, if it was this weekend or the weekend before, but this was actually recorded before the Pro Tour, so it must have been quite popular then as well. 8 coming back the other way, so if Stephen can find... Yeah, I was going to say, if he can find a good follow-up here, which he can, it's a Steel Leaf Champion. He's actually got lethal on board. But Hazaret's going to be coming down here. And the Uncrop Crasher was exerted, so that's not attacking next turn. So Hazaret could be on... Oh, no, there's no blocking duties for Hazaret because he can't attack or block because Matt's not going to be able to get 2 cards out of his hand. So this is a dead cast here. But you can see here, Uncrop Crasher's getting exerted next turn. So Earthshaker and Bomat Courier both back on blocking duties here. Just doing... Actually, if there's a removal spell on Stephen's side, then he's going to take game 1. He doesn't have a removal though. Well, that's a premature concession there from Matt. He conceded. He didn't need to at that stage. He actually had him dead on the crackback. But we're going to game 2. Oh no, my apologies. Steel Leaf can't be blocked by creatures of power less than 2, so neither of those creatures could block the 2 Steel Leaf Champions. I suspect if he didn't see that. If he did, I think he would have cast the Chain Whirler instead of the Hazaret. So an aggressive shock there puts Stephen down to 16. Yeah, I think Stephen will think he's probably stole that one. But it was a good comeback. But again, for a green-black deck, we haven't seen Whiny Constrictor on turn 2 in either game so far. Very fast start this time for Matt. He's got him down to 12 already. And here's the trusty old 3-drop. He can actually kill that with Chandra. and push 5 damage. So with a lightning strike, I think it could almost be lethal. So yeah, here's the funny recording. You can see that Chandra's actually below the lands. Like, this is totally mucked up. It's some sort of X-Mage setting that Matt Powell has. So you can't see things very well. Well, that's a block of the Thrashing Brontodon. And 1, 2, 3, 4.
The domestic dog is a member of the genus Canis, which forms part of the wolf-like canids.
Here's my Alexa not working properly. He's gonna. That's lethal right there. So he strikes him down to 2, so he can only block 1. I mean, Uncrop can even exert if it wanted to, just to make sure. So we're going to game 3. These two smashing through their games here. Yes, Stephen didn't really do anything that game. He cast a 3-drop and that was it. Just straight up shocks him there. So you can use the Kenra next turn into Goblin Chainwheeler, and also because there's no creature in his graveyard, so Stephen can't get that back. Matt Powell with the lightning strikes. He's had them in all 3 games now, and they've proved pretty good. So here's a second Scrap Heap Scrounger. He'll play the Chainwheeler. The Scrounger cannot block. So Ronus needs a creature with power 4 or greater before it becomes a creature, so he's not doing anything at this stage. One option here is not right now, but next turn, as he can use Ronus to pump the Scrounger, and then Ronus will also be an attacker. But a lot of damage coming through here. 5, 6, and there's another 3 to be added to that next turn, so there's actually lethal on board next turn. And Stephen's only got 1 blocker. Actually, just as he plays Gelter, I was about to say he needs at least another blocker, because Lightning Strike's going to drop him to 5. That's a misplay there. He's going to lose the match now. He wasn't playing around Lightning Strike. So he can swing 2, 4, 5. 4 of them are going to get through. I mean, even without that, he had lethal on board, so I'm guessing he's holding Fatal Push. But Fatal Push isn't going to save him here. So Matt Powell's going to take standard 2 games to 1. He can just swing in. The numbers... The Lightning Strike will finish the job. It might just bring a concession beforehand. So now, even if he Fatal Pushes the Earthshaker, blocks the Chainwheeler, there's still 5 coming through. He's not sending everybody. Yeah, that's a big misplay. If there's a Fatal Push in hand here, he's going to get punished. There's none, so we're going to Modern. Okay. So we can see now Matt Powell on what looks like a mono-red prison for Modern. We don't see this too often. And a Horizon Canopy into a Noble Hierarch. That's either a bad start for a company deck, or Hierarch's a good play, but you don't want to be tapping your Horizon Canopy. That tells me that he doesn't have a green source. Possibly Boggles. Ensnaring Bridge in hand will just mean that Boggles will fold game 1 if that's the case. Boggles does not play any main deck answers in game 1 to an Ensnaring Bridge. It'll bring in Seal of Primordium during sideboards. Likewise, Blood Moon is a big problem for them. Okay, Ether Vial suggests, this is a brew. I'm not familiar with the Noble Hierarch deck that plays the Ether Vial off the top of my head. And here's a turn 2 Blood Moon. Blood Moon excellent here, but not as good as it could be because Noble Hierarch can still get in burnt colours, and also Ether Vial can violin creatures. Okay, yeah, I think we've seen this deck out of Steven before. It's like a green-white hate bears deck. I haven't seen it too much of it. I think it's like his brew. And does he want to go for the Ensnaring Bridge this time? He does. Has to pay the extra for it because of Thalia. There is a chance that this deck from Steven might play main deck. Trying to think of the name of it. The green-white that you can sacrifice and it exiles or destroys an artifact or enchantment. Let's see if I can find it. Kasali Pride Mage. You can see he's got a second Ensnaring Bridge. It'll probably just put paid to the Pride Mage plan. The other option to get around this that could exist in those colours is Flicker Wisp. Matt's just struggling a bit. He needs a bit of mana because Thalia is really taxing him at the moment. He's going to need 5 to play one of those Chandras. Thalia's Lieutenant here is not the best when you're trying to get around an Ensnaring Bridge. As he can only pass a turn though, so he's going to have 6, 7, 8 damage coming through. He could possibly, after combat, violin another human, just to push a bit more. 7, 9 damage. So lethal on board next turn, and he's got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 realistic attackers. Yeah, I think this is just over. So he's going to violin the Kite Sail. That's a misplay because it's going to take a card out of hand. He doesn't want to remove a card from hand. And certainly you don't want to do it in the upkeep. You want to do it in the draw step. So he takes a Chandra. He can't play the Chandra for 2 turns and he's going to be dead. So he's going to get burnt here by... He's going to be able to play out that Ensnaring Bridge. So Ensnaring Bridge is going to mean that 2... Well, he's going to concede. He didn't have to concede that. He could have played the Ritual into Ensnaring Bridge and then he would have only had 2 cards in hand. He's brought in a Stone Rain, so he's going after the land destruction here. Ancient Ziggurat in a 2-colour deck is a bit strange. This is going to be a tough one to beat. Chalice for 1. So no Ether Vials. No more Champions of the Parish and no Noble Hierarchs. The other thing of Ancient Ziggurat, it can only tap for mana for creatures. So he can't actually play anything like an Ether Vial here. Takes the Blood Moon. So we're kind of in a racing situation here. Stephen's locked out of a lot of cards, swinging for 3 each turn. He's only got one land. He can actually plus Chandra here. I wouldn't have minded. That's going to get back the Blood Moon. So Chandra dies. He could have plussed and then next turn cast in Snaring Bridge, and then that would have locked him out. And he's got another Kite Sail, so he's going to get the Blood Moon back. So that plan's going to backfire because Chandra's going to go down now. And Snaring Bridge, oh, and he finds another one. 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Okay, he saw Blood Moon and he saw in Snaring Bridge game 1, so just as I say that, what's he bought in to get around that? Kessig Malcontents. Every time a human enters the battlefield, it does 1 damage. What do you play here? He's gonna. I like that play. In Snaring Bridge first, see if he can commit any more creatures to the board, get better value out of the anger. He doesn't need to fire the anger off anytime soon. Only the Kite Sail's getting in. He is down to 6 though. And he's gonna go now. So the Champion of the Parish isn't a threat because of the Ensnaring Bridge, but if Stephen can find any removal for, or it's just as I said, he's drawn a second one, I think it's going to make it difficult now. Okay, so he's found the answer, but he doesn't have green mana for the Reclamation Sage. Third, and surely he can't beat 3 Ensnaring Bridges. I think max you have 2 Reclamation Sages in your sideboard. He's going to hard cast a Simian Spirit Guide, so all Matt Powell's doing now is looking for a win con. You can see this problem with the graphics now. You can't see any of the other cards that he has. Looks like he's got an empty board, but he's got a whole heap of stuff going on below the lands for some reason. See, Stephen's got 8 cards in hand, but he can't cast any of them. He was struggling for lands at the start. Whereas Matt's just flooding out now, so this is just kind of waiting for someone to draw something. I'm just going to skip ahead a bit here. Okay, he's got a Hazaret. This should close out the game pretty quickly. Well, he's got a Damping Sphere in play. I'm not sure why he'd bring that in from the sideboard. Yep, and he's seen enough, so we're going to game 3. He can actually play turn 1 and Snaring Bridge if he wanted here. I don't know if there's really a huge demand for that, but particularly as he's still got 4 cards in hand. If it was Blood Moon, yes. But this is one. Here's a Kite Sail freebird. I don't know if he's. I said it was hate bears at the start. I think it is actually just humans. 4 lands in hand is what the Kite Sail finds. But this humans deck is very weak to cards that go after the mana base. Now, if he names Pithing Needle naming Ether Vial here, then shuts off that the Ether Vial as an option, and that's exactly what he does. So now he's just got to find a Blood Moon, and Stephen will be locked out. Thalia means that Blood Moon is going to be 2 turns away, but next turn, Anger is going to be very good. So both these matches going to 3 games so far. It's just oh, that's a timely kite sail. It's both matches going to 3 games, but Matt's been the one that's found the decisive answer in the 3rd game so far. Stone Rain's going to be... Well, I think I would have taken the Horizon Canopy, just in case he had an on-land spell. Okay, so here's the majors. See, he could possibly float white if he had a Path to Exile right there, whereas Ziggurat can't cast something like that. No attacks from the Kite Sail and Steering Bridge means he's got no cards in hand, so I'd cast this for... Well, oh, he cast it for 1. I'm thinking he's 1 land short. He could have cast it for 3 and then locked out Reclamation Sage. There's the land. Is it the land? Yeah, so he gets the land. So if he held off a turn, he could have cast it for Reclamation Sage to lock him out from stopping the Ensnaring Bridge. You can see it's pretty hopeless here for Stephen or Skip Ford, as they just exchange a few lands. Stone Rain, so I think he's going to see enough any time now. Gets an emblem with Koth. We didn't even see Koth on the battlefield. Yeah, and so Koth will start pinging him for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 a turn. And that's it, he's had enough. So we're going to Legacy. Yeah, I'll have to speak to some people about Matt's layout, because I don't know how you change it, but it's clearly wrong. The land should be on the bottom. It seems his planeswalkers, enchantments and artifacts all go to the bottom right, below the lands. So Stephen's been beaten 2-1 in both of these matches, and he's missed his land drop. He kept a 7-card no-lander. He discarded Grizzlebrand. Okay, that explains a lot. So we can see in his hand here that, in Matt's hand, that Grizzlebrand is going to be very good, particularly if he's got a reanimate here, which I'm guessing he does. Or Lotus Petal means he can play something else as well. Exhume. So he's got Grizzlebrand up. Now, I think he can draw the 7. He's going to pass the turn. I think he had to draw 7 to try and get that Swords to Plowshares out. I'm not sure why he does it now in the draw step. It doesn't really... There's no instant speed here. This, against Death and Taxes, Grizzlebrand is not that good because they do have a number of ways to remove it. Like, I mean, he's excellent obviously for drawing 7 cards, but he's not your win con. You can see the Swords to Plowshares now. I think Stephen had to, he needed to activate Grizzlebrand again there, but he needed to activate in his main phase so that he could strip the hand of Matt. He would have got that Swords to Plowshares out of there, and then Matt wouldn't have an answer. Flicker Wisp can't bounce the Grizzlebrand. The only time that it could, Flicker Wisp would be good, is if he uses, what's that card? Animate Dead. You can actually Flicker Wisp targeting the Animate Dead, and then the Grizzlebrand will die, but because he used Exhume, you can't do that. So he entombs and puts another Grizzlebrand in. Now he's going to entomb for something else, and an Elesh Norn. I like that. See, the other problem though with Grizzlebrand and also even Elesh Norn is that Matt Powell's deck plays a number of what's the card? The Return Ancient to hand, which completely wrecks your plan. But now Rishid Port is going to go to work. Well, not this turn because he's tapping it. Sanctum Prelate, either 1 or 2 here. He's going to name 1, so reanimates off the table. It's Exhume or Animate Dead now. Does he have one? Yeah, he does. It's a turn 2. It's a 2-mana Exhume. And Elish Norn will wipe the board. And Matt Powell quickly concedes, so we're going to game 2. Okay, Containment Priest is going to be very good here. Containment Priest, actually, if it resolves, is basically game over. The only way that Steven's deck can beat a Containment Priest is with the resolved Containment Priest is with Collective Brutality. Well, he's going to entomb. For what? He entombs Elish Norn again and then passes the turn, does he? Let me just wait and see what's happening here. Yeah, he passes the turn. Entomb's actually instant speed, so he didn't need to do that at that particular point. And Mother of Ruins doesn't attack because it wants to protect itself, so he's going to wasteland the Badlands, I'm guessing here. Although he doesn't need to, he's got Containment Priest because it's got Flash. So Faithless Looting is going to discard 2 cards. He discards Tidespout Tyrant and Lotus Petal. Lotus Petal, big one to discard there. I'm a bit surprised by that, particularly as he's got Tidespout Tyrant. So he goes to Dark Ritual, so here we go, he's going to get burnt big time here. Goes for Exhume. Flashes a Containment Priest, so neither player can actually flash someone in with Exhume here, even though Matt Powell's got no one. He went for the... I don't think he knows how that card works. He's selected Tidespout, unless he's forced to select something. And Tomb, so all these cards are useless. The only card that he has now is... So Entomb's a Chancellor of the Annex. Collective Brutality. Stoneforge Mystic, and we're about to go to game 3. He finds the Battle Skull. We'll see if he's going to concede here. Plays a 3rd. Okay, so he's on this plan here, but unfortunately there's a Path to Exile on the other side. The Grim Lavamancer would actually take down the Containment Priest. Yeah, that's a good card to come in from the sideboard. Yeah, Caracas is the card I was trying to think of before. Yeah, Caracas is going to completely shut down Grizzlebrand and Elish Norn. So you can see that the Batterskull, it goes to the very right hand side before moving back to the left. Are we going to see a concession here? Duress will find nothing. 4, 5, 6, 7 coming through next turn. He'll see the Mirren Crusader. We're just going to skip ahead because I don't see any way that this ends. Lethal on board now, so that's enough. So we're going to game 3. You can see Swords to Plowshares as his weapon of choice here. But Stephen on the play, which is far better position for the reanimator player to be in. He's going to go for it turn 1. Floats 3 black. Entombs. Okay, what's he going to entomb? I think Grizzlebrand and then strip their hand. Oh, he's gone for Chancellor of the Annex. Okay, animate dead. And this is the one I mentioned before. You can actually flicker wisp this and the creature will die. So he's got a 4/6 flyer. Swords to Plowshares will still deal with it. But he's got 1 Swords to Plowshares. Does he want to use it at this point? Four damage coming in. What's he going to name with Cabal Therapy? This might force the swords. He named Stoneforge Mystic. I'm a bit surprised by that, to be honest. I think the problem I have with naming Stoneforge is that any threat that Stephen puts out is better than anything that Stoneforge puts out. The card that beats him is Swords to Plowshares, which you can see it's going to beat him right now, or Containment Priest. He can easily beat not easily, but he has many ways of beating a containment a Swords to Plowshares, but he has no way of beating a Containment Priest, from what I've seen. I haven't seen Collective Brutality out of him yet. And Matt Powell rightly recognises he's got to deal with that pretty quickly. Upkeep, Rishadan Port, and the lockout begins. So Death and Tax is starting to do its thing, but you can see Stephen's got a Lotus Petal, so if he can find a second land, you better get around that. He does not find a second land. Thalia is going to make that very difficult. So there's a 1-turn clock here where Thalia... Oh, I was just about to say, I like that play from Matt Powell. Wasteland's the Badlands, so he's pretty... Stephen's looking pretty well locked out of this one now. He's just going to keep Swords to Plowshares open here just in case. But again, no lands, so this is looking pretty ominous. We'll just skip ahead a little bit here. You can see he's found a swamp to go with his Lotus Petal, but it's still with and he's found another. So what's he got now? 5 cards in hand, and Entomb, that's a good one, but he has to pay 2 for it. There's a couple of options he could find that could get away around his Swords to Plowshares. He's going to go for Elish Norn. I don't mind that, going to sweep the board. The other one that I was thinking of is if he has Grave Titan, or if he has Inkwell Leviathan. 7 damage coming through here. One thing with the Swords to Plowshares is it does actually give you life, so it'll buy him a little bit of time. Does he have a reanimation? He does, it's Animate Dead. Swords to Plowshares standing by on the other side. And it's Elish Norn to wipe the board. So we still have a game on our hands. So this one here, I was going to say I wouldn't fire off that Swords to Plowshares. You can just flicker wisp the animate dead and save the Swords to Plowshares, because next time it might not be a animation spell. Does he want to use the surgical? 2 animate dead's already in the grave. He can use a surgical in response to targeting a creature, but he's going to go aggressively go after Entomb here. Take it, so you can see he's got a Grizzlebrand in hand, but no way to get it into the grave. Plays a Thalia. Thalia not so good now when there's 4 mana available to Steven. But he needs... There's no targets in the graveyard. He needs 2 things to happen. 1, he needs a spell to put something in the graveyard. He's got the thing to put. It's a Grizzlebrand. And 2, he needs some way to get it back. So he needs to draw at least 2 cards, which is going to take 2 turns, which he doesn't have. So I think this one is over. He named Mirren Crusader there. Yep, so he's run out of time, unfortunately, and Richard Import's not going to do much here. 6 coming through. I'd be tempted to even just play the Flicker Wisp just to be sure, but he's not going to find anything, so a clean sweep for Matt Powell. So Matt's just got a swing now. And 12 points to 3, he takes it.